really believe that this is a generation to really start change. And with us being in Delaware, we could be the first ones to do it. So I'm gonna end with, we know what they mean when they call us thugs. We know what they mean by lynchings in Dover, Delaware, and we're not gonna accept that anymore. And as I told everyone in the beginning, anyone who joins this fight is agreeing that no more hashtags will happen around them. And I just want to remind everyone of that. And change is uncomfortable, but it's going to happen one way or another. So get ready to be uncomfortable. And with that, you know, Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter!
Alright, so I'll be formal at this point. And listen, this is informal. Like this is about all of us, right? This is about all of us. So I know we produced these packets. I won't bore us with obviously with reading all of this like we're in some sort of service. I'm not gonna do that. But what I do want to do, I want to highlight some things. So what I want to highlight is, well, I guess we can start with the background. So the background of it, I'll read quickly. I'll read very quickly. The background of it, why we're gathering today, right? So first in apartheid, last in lynching. So since the first slave arrived in 1639, life has been persistently difficult for black residents of the first state. From the comparatively generous corporate tax structure and the tax-free shop in Delaware attracts a great deal of wealth and commerce. But while the profits are rolling in, there's an entire demographic continually being left behind. Forgotten in the cogs and creases of the corporate machine, if you look, you'll find the people that were not yet people until 1901. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that? 1901. So we're talking about, and it says long after the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were ratified. So that's where we get Delaware as first in apartheid. So we're always talking about Delaware being the first state. You know, they go to conventions, you know, national conventions, and that's the thing. You know, we're the first state. We are the first state, and the oppression in this first state has been real, super duper real. They have led the way with that. Definitely been first. So black Delawareans are systematically and institutionally stymied by de facto apartheid time and memorial. Delaware's racist and draconian black codes preceded those of the Deep South. Literally. Did y'all know that? So we talk about the Deep South, we talk about Mississippi, you know, Mississippi burning and all that. Did you know that Delaware was like the model? Like, literally. Delaware did such a good job. Delaware did such a good job of slavery and oppression thereafter of black people that the rest of the South was able to model their apparatus, the state apparatus. So that's what we're dealing with. And the reason why I want to bring light to that is because that's freaking important. That is important to know because they have us even here in this state thinking that we're so like liberal, right? Or so just you know for not racist, right? So for all. And no, that's not what's going on. So this is why I'm gonna stop that right there. Y'all can read the rest. You know, we'll put it all on the social media and all that. But at the end of the day, it's like this. We need the truth to get out. And the truth is, Delaware is way behind. Delaware is in serious need of reform across the board. Across the board. And this is why we're out here. So starting in 2010, not far from here, I'm sure a lot of y'all are familiar with the stories. 2010 was it wasn't the first lynching, but 2010, in terms of what we're doing out here today, 2010 marked the first lynching in the series of lynchings that that came around the same time as those pamphlets were circulated, right? That said, cleaning up the streets one nigger at a time. We're just gonna say what it said, right? And our state and major, powerful, we'll say we're powerful because it's a perception of power that comes with the power structure, right? Because truly the people have the power. But that perceived power, right, that power structure has done such an amazing job of keeping these incidents suppressed over the last decade. So starting in 2010 with the young man Charles Conley from Wesley, right? And then we get to 2012. When we get to 2012, we have a couple of incidents that happened. We had to bring light to Mr. Henry Fordham. So Mr. Henry Fordham, they attempted to lynch Henry Fordham. There's a police call with the activity in the background. You hear them calling out. There's the white truck right there with the two men leaving right there. They're tending to him. He's wounded. The man has puncture wounds in his neck. He has marks around his throat where they were able to get the belt around his neck, where they were almost able to effectively lynch him. And he was able, by his strength and honestly the power of God, to escape that attempted lynching, only to be turned away. Yeah, turned away, called, basically discredited completely. As a matter of fact, the biggest part of that story was the chief of police at the time, Chief Hosset, being basically boasting. It comes off like in the article where he was able to poke holes in his story. This man survived an attempted lynching, and you're trying to discredit him. You're on the record saying that you have been able to prove that there are some inconsistencies in his story, despite the 911 call, despite the identifying and actually cross-referencing with a gentleman's family, Mr. Clark, Mr. Johnny Clark, who was in fact killed, lynched. All of the identifying, right? The names, down to the names, down to the white pickup truck that's in the police call. All of those things were corroborated between multiple parties. And what happened? They swept it all under the rug. They swept it under the rug. Henry Fordham showed up. He showed up with an attorney to the Attorney General's office, and they were physically removed and threatened to be arrested if they came back. That doesn't sound like how you treat somebody who survived an attempted lynching. But this is our state. And this is what he was met with in his time of need. So to this day, and this is based on people who actually go and check on Henry regularly. I want to actually get with Henry. And the first thing that I was told was, you gotta watch yourself if you get seen with Henry. Why is that a thing? Why do I have to be concerned about being targeted by certain authorities? Authorities, I put that in quotations too. For going and talking to a citizen who is in need. It's insane for that to be the first thing that comes up. I'm just giving y'all a little bit of my experience as I've been dealing with this thing over the last little bit. This is what I was told when I said I needed to speak to Mr. Fordham so that we could get him some help and actually get his story heard and get it to where he can actually get the relief that he's been seeking. To this day, Henry cries if you bring it up. That doesn't sound like a man who's trying to lie about almost being lynched. right? To this day, he cries. To this day, I had the opportunity to speak to the beloved Miss Lydie, right, who was Johnny Clark and David Clark's mother. And she couldn't get through the conversation without crying and telling me her husband, Mr. Jimmy, got on the phone and said to me, and I respect this man so much, he said to me, young man, please don't open wounds that you can't heal. That's the concern of our residents, of our citizens. People are concerned about suppression and retaliation from police and political officials for speaking up and actually questioning and seeking true justice. They're worried about being retaliated against. They're living in fear. And this is why we have to go beyond this state apparatus. This is why we have to get this story out beyond the lockdown walls surrounding Delaware. Because that's what we're living in. We're living in the deep south. Delaware is the deep south. This is the first state for a reason. So, with that, what I want to do at this point, what I want to do first is, before we want to honor all of the named and nameless victims of this oppressive structure, you know, because it's important to note that this state thinks so much of us, or so little of us, I should say, that they don't even release the names of some of the people that are found, and that they without the assistance or the input of the actual people, the residents, the citizens, which matter, they take it upon themselves to open and close investigations without our input, without our knowledge, without our cross-examination. And that's not okay. These are people, human beings, no matter what's going on, you know, in the deep parts of the political offices in this state. At the end of the day, every single individual matters. And that's what we need to get through, not only again to our state, but we have to get this out to our country. Because I truly believe, you call me crazy, you can call me a dreamer or whatever, but I do believe that once the right ears hear this, we're going to get the attention that we need. And we need that attention, because the bottom line is, we can't trust the elected officials in this state. Period. No matter what they say from back then on. I was gonna say from this point on. But no matter what they say out of their mouths, because they've been proven time and time again to easily lie, to easily maneuver and shift their idea of truth and justice to serve themselves and only themselves, to continue to put profits in their pockets, in the pockets of the major corporations and all of those who are on that side. So when you dare to stand for the people, that's where you have to start to be concerned. And that's a problem. It's a problem that people have to call us and tell us, right, be careful. Why do we have to be careful when you care about people? Why do we have to be careful when we're showing concern? You should be careful when you're covering up lynchings. You should have to be careful when you're covering crime. You should be careful when you're killing people and not offering an excuse or at least a thorough full investigation. That's what you should have to be careful about. not about actually doing the work of justice and raising your voice and being an actual light in the world and trying to get real assistance to real people. So I'm tired of having to be careful about caring. I'm tired of having to be concerned about the well-being of the people who are apparently risking their health and their lives with me in order to shed light on things that elected officials should be shedding light on. It's ridiculous that we had to be concerned and be careful about caring. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I wanna close this part, and I wanna.
Yeah, I got something to tell you.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, look.
Come on, brother.
You were talking about. I was trying to record that live, but listen.
Go ahead.
Is it on? It was an article. www.pacenews.com, and you can read it, and it'll tell you that Joe Biden is the last great segregationist. So you need to read it and look at it. So what you're getting is just of the Dixiecrat Party. That's all you're getting. So when you look at this, you need to really realize what's going on. This man actually said this was the largest slave-holding state in the Union one time, and he was disappointed they didn't come from the Confederacy. They didn't disband from the Confederacy. So what you're talking about 1639, that's the way he feels. So you're talking about a presidential candidate, he shouldn't even be alive. That's the first part. But they say they live too long anyway, right? So I'm just letting you know, that's what you get. So, but Beau Biden was his brother. They covered it up, and he was a great friend of Kamala Harris. The same thing happened in California. Look up Matrice Richardson. Look up all these people. I mean, I can go to Harmon Square, Chicago. I can take you anywhere. But there's a whole lot of other stuff going on. I came all from Richmond, Virginia here to tell you that.
Thank you. Yes.